Believe it or not, placebos are used throughout a normal lifetime. Whether the placebo was your mom kissing a boo-boo as a child, a placebo used to increase performance on everyday tasks, or a fake medication a doctor prescribed for you. Well, these 5 students are going to explore the amazing phenomenon of
In an interview with Lauren Carica, a psychology major at the University of New Mexico, she explained that the placebo effect is a phenomenon where a person is made to believe that a pill or other treatment will affect their condition. Their belief in the treatment's ability actually causes perceived or even real changes in their condition. Neuroimaging studies show increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which controls working memory, attention, and other high-level functions. The double-blind procedure is where neither the administrators of the medication nor the patients know the patient is receiving the real treatment or a placebo. This technique is applied in order to combat both patient and administrator placebo effect. An American anesthesiologist, Henry K. Beecher, reported that on average, about a third of patients with a range of conditions improved when they were given placebos. This subsequently led to the development of placebo-controlled trials, whereby a new drug is said to have significant benefit only if it shows superiority over the placebo. This is an example of how placebos are used in the medical field. A survey of UK doctors found that 97% have prescribed placebo treatments to patients at least once in their career.
All of the adverts, all of the magazine adverts that you've ever seen have all built up in your memory and have increased your expectation of a brand name packaged pill. What's also interesting is that the placebo effect seems to work on basically everybody. It doesn't matter if you think that you're a skeptic, and even children and animals respond to the placebo effect because the people around them, of course, have higher expectations of the dummy treatment that they're being given. And it's quite natural to expect that your children certainly would react to your expectations of whether they would get better. So there are some fascinating examples of this.
Studies have shown that the greater belief in the placebo treatment, the more change is reported by the individual. Alzheimer patients or others suffering from certain types of memory loss have shown to receive no benefit from the treatment at all, possibly because the memory loss means they cannot have any persistent expectation for the treatment.
I've been tutoring a girl named Maddie in math for about a month now. She's in the 7th grade and I saw this as the perfect opportunity to test the powers of a placebo. So what I did is I made 2 similar math tests consisting of the questions that she has issues with. I gave Maddie the first test and told her it was simply to test her abilities and how she was doing. This is a video of Maddie taking test A. As you can see, she is somewhat off task. She kept trying to talk to me, and I basically just nodded my head and told her to keep on going. It took her 9 minutes and 20 seconds to finish this test. After Maddie completed test 1, that's when I had this crazy idea to test my homework test tee on her. This is what I told her.
So our teacher gave us this drink, and she wanted us to test it to see, because she said that it helps increase brain stimulation and helps you keep focused. And she gave it to me, but she said that we could test it on someone we know too. Would you mind if I tested on you? I tasted it already. It's really good. You want some?
Sure, I don't care.
All right.
All it took was a glass of Arizona green tea, a drink with no powers at all. After Maddie finished the whole glass, I allowed her to take test B. In this clip of Maddie taking test B, you can see she is more focused on finishing all of her work. Now the results of this experiment were not what I expected them to be. On both test A and B, Madison scored a 60%, which means she missed 4. However, the interesting part of this is that test B took Maddie only 7 minutes and 20 seconds to finish. That's a solid 2 minutes faster than it took her to complete test A. I think that this happened possibly because I told Maddie that this drink increased brain stimulation and improved focus, but I did not tell her that it made her smarter. Possibly if I told her this, she may have received a better score than test A. However, I still feel that the results did show a relevant outcome of the placebo effect.
I performed an experiment on my 8-year-old sister Jillian. In this experiment, I first asked her to draw me an apple. This is what she drew. After she was done drawing, I told her to draw another apple, but this time she would be using a magic pencil that I gave her. I told her that it had special powers to make her artistic ability better. I also gave her encouraging words and kept repeating them over and over again while she drew the second apple. This is the second apple she drew. After she was done, I noticed how much better she actually did. But not only that, her creativity level went up. She wanted to draw bite marks and a worm coming out of it, not just a plain apple. This is an example of how placebo can affect the people and especially their self-esteem. She had the capability to draw like this all along, but it just took a few encouraging words and a magic pencil to get her to believe in herself. Placebo can have many effects on building your self-esteem. The placebo is the power we have and can create within our minds. Heart failure patients who take placebo pills twice a day have a 40% reduced fatality over those who forget to take their placebo pills. This is because engaging in a placebo ritual is extremely powerful, not for the substances we're putting into our body, but for the intentional change in physiology we are creating. Boosting self-esteem works in the same way as a placebo pill would. It is completely psychological.
The counterexample of placebos is called nocebos. Nocebo is when a doctor or nurse informs a patient about the possible complications of a proposed treatment. It is also assumed that a certain proportion of the undesired effects of the drugs can be attributed to nocebo effects. Telling a patient about the possible side effects of a treatment may sound like the necessary thing 100% of the time, but doctors find themselves in a moral dilemma between their obligation to tell the patient about the possible side effects of a treatment and their duty to minimize the risks of medical intervention and thus to avoid triggering nocebo effects.
Although the placebo effect seems to be an amazing phenomenon which offers simple healing, it is still very controversial whether or not placebo should be used as a prescription treatment. In the following clip, Dr. Ben Goldacre describes his views on the subject.
All of the research shows that lying to your patients, misleading them, can help them get better. And actually, when you give somebody a placebo sugar pill, you don't expose them to any physical side effects. So people might say, well, maybe we should give placebo treatments very commonly. But I think that's problematic. I think that's wrong, because to give a placebo treatment to a patient requires that you lie to them. And I don't think that doctors or anybody working in the NHS can lie to patients. I think it's ethically wrong, but also in the long run, when you lie to people paternalistically like that, eventually word gets out and you undermine the credibility of everything that you say.
Placebos are a good idea, but should not be used for everyday medication.